thank you so much. Nice to spend some time with you here today. So let's dive into IoT and some of the key areas that we see out there on the market. So at Equinix, we're involved with companies at all sizes and all shapes, trying to become relevant on the market, utilizing the IoT ecosystem that is out there. And when we start to engage with customers, there are three key areas that we try to make our customers aware of and that we think are important. The first one is, what is my IoT business? How will it change my business? How will I adapt to a rapid change? How will partners interact with me? The second area is, am I prepared? Do I have the network performance built into my network that I need, built into my application? And the most important one is probably security. Also, we ask our customers, do you need to have control? And if I ask the question in this audience, I think most of you would probably say, yes, we do need to have control. In the overall IoT business models that are evolving, there are three key areas that we think it's important that you start looking into to understand what's going to be relevant to you and what's going to be relevant to your customers. One is having access to the information. You've got to have the ability to gather and to analyze the traffic. You need to be able to make informed decisions about that traffic and about the information that you're gathering. And you need to be able to execute on this in a rapid manner. Let's talk about this. So when you're gathering information, they come from a multitude of sensors out there on the marketplace. Let's talk about the connected car, for example. You have sensors out there on the road measuring the speed. You have cameras, you have CCTV. You probably have your car connected to some kind of service that's measuring the health of your car. You then have the ability to make, so you're gathering all this information and you have the ability to make informed decisions about this data. And some data is relevant and some data is only nice to have. And being able to extract or disseminate this is extremely important. But none of this becomes relevant unless you can act on it in a rapid manner. So when you start to look at and evaluate your IoT strategy, we think it's important that you do this both from a local, from a national, and from a global perspective. IoT strategies need to be carrier neutral, and they need to be interconnected. You've got to find those interconnection points where you can leverage top-tier carriers and access to cloud service providers at all locations. Having access to these companies inside carrier-neutral data centers become extremely important when you're launching your product. You also need to look into who you will connect with. There's some core areas that you should look into, and one is cloud. What type of cloud services do you need? Do you only need compute? Do you need compute and storage? Do you need some dynamic stack that includes internet access? Do you need firewall access or capabilities? Understanding that profile is really important, because then you can make a decision about where to deploy and what type of partner to choose from a cloud perspective. The network. You need to pay attention to the network. You need to pay attention to what network providers are available, what are the top capacity network providers, what are the top tier 1 network providers, because then you know that you have the capability to provide high capacity transport between your locations. When you look at IoT from a deployment perspective, you've got to start looking at a segmented network. The IoT edge and the IoT core. The IoT edge is where you're going to integrate all that endpoint traffic that comes from the sensors. All of the data that you gather should sit on the edge. That's also important from a security perspective, because if you segment your network, you can limit the exposure to your security exposure. Also, shortening the distance to the edge can enhance your performance. As we see rollout of 5G, this becomes really important, because 5G applications have to have a response time of 1 millisecond. So you have to have the capabilities and access close to the edge so that you can respond to this. You then don't need to transport all that information. You can cache it, you can scrape the right information out, and you can push it back to the core. The core is where you're going to start optimizing the high-level connectivity, the high-level transport, and the different providers have available in the interconnection points. If you start looking at a distributed model, you have aggregation and you have transport that will allow you to act on the data that will become relevant. Let's talk about the performance challenges. Scale is one. We see exponential growth and velocity, and according to IDC research, IP traffic will grow with 300% in less than 3 years, and this will put a constraint on networks. Another challenge is the complexity of integrating multiple providers. According to the 451 Institute, an IoT solution typically comprises of 3 applications, 4 data sets, and across 2 or more providers. The third challenge is that data is created and consumed at the edge. According to Gartner, transferring the entirety of the data to a single location doesn't make sense from a technology perspective and doesn't make sense from an economic perspective. The fourth challenge, security and economical exposure. According to IDC research, 90% of the IT networks will have an IoT-based security breach in less than 2 years. So how can we at Equinix help you solve these problems? Let's talk about scale. Within our data centers, we provide efficient bandwidth and traffic management, which will give you better throughput and eliminate the bottlenecks. And the reason is that we have more than 1,700 network service providers available in our data centers, and we have more than 2,500 cloud service providers available that you can have direct links to. What about the integration problem? Also, as said in our IBXs, more than 2,500 cloud service providers, 1,700 network service providers, almost 10,000 enterprises are available that you can have private or direct links to. This will give you a secure and efficient connection to the providers that you need. So what about gravity? we help you come closer to the edge. And this, I talked about that. That's really, really important from a performance perspective. And the reason is that we have data centers in 5 continents, 24 countries, 44 metros, more than 200 data centers over the world to choose among, to help you come closer to where your data and customers sits. And we also help you enhance the security. And the way we do this is you don't need to go over internet to access your cloud service providers. We will give you a private link in our data center to the cloud service provider that you need. And this will dramatically reduce your exposure to attacks. So, just some final points, what I think it's important that you think about when you set your IoT strategy is to think about providers that have size, scope, and scale. You must work with providers that have the right level of connectivity and the right level of distribution, penetration around the globe where your customers are. And look at it from an ecosystem perspective. Who do you need to connect to, and who are available with your partner? And I think most and foremost may be that you partner with somebody that can help you grow with them around the globe to make your product successful. Thank you.